He really is in a good place, confidence.
Right.
What are your impressions of him? He's a young guy. It's a big camp for him. He has a chance to make a impression, make the squad. Sure. So what are your early impressions of what you've seen from him?
So far so good. Like you mentioned, I think he's taken some good at bats so far this spring. The at bats have been quality. I like what I'm seeing as far as his approach. All the hitting guys are saying that the work he's done. Even before game started, the cage work, his drills, his batting practices have all been solid. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the consistency. A lot of times statistics can be misleading depending on, the type of hit and the quality of that bat. Doesn't necessarily, you could be fooled a little bit by statistics at times. You need larger samples, obviously, to really get concrete, information. But, Ryan is, the way he's working in practice, the drills on the defensive side, like I mentioned earlier, the practice on the offensive side, he's in a good spot. Yeah, like he mentioned. And for Ryan, now in big league camp again, a little closer to the big leagues, he should be feeling, good about his game, and he should be gaining confidence. He had a very good year last year, had a good offseason as far as what was expected of him as far as his offseason workouts. So, it's a progress. It's a progression to get to where a big league player needs to be, and Ryan is doing all the correct steps to get there. So now it's a matter of continue playing through the spring, and we'll see how our roster shakes out. But he's in a good spot. But he's got he's competing with a number of other guys for potentially a roster spot.
Also, I spent some time talking to David Dahl today. He was sitting there with an 0 for 10, but probably, just from talking to Salazar, maybe 4 or 5 of that bats. Been pretty good at bats.
Yeah, he's had some good at bats. He's hit the ball on the nose a couple times. Again, it's with David, he's getting back into the rhythm and flow of our game, right? I mean, he missed basically a whole full season. I mean, he had some at bats in AAA, but I don't think we saw the real David Dahl last season. So now he's got to get back into, baseball shape. He's got to get back into, the daily schedule of being a ball player. And there's a conditioning aspect to that. There's a mental aspect to that he's got to get in tune with. And he's getting there. It's still early. It's February 27th. We're still in February. But the thing that I'm happy about is that he's healthy. He's going through all drills. He's playing at a high pace of play. And he's so far he's answering all the things that he needs to answer as far as getting out there and playing and working and doing what a ball player should do on a daily basis in spring training. And he'll get it. I mean, he'll get his hits. I mean, he's a good player.
What he was saying was kind of the next step is just anticipating maybe how much a sinker is going to sink, or just kind of controlling that strike zone and really feeling.
Yeah, and that will come with at bats.
Are you excited to see Ohtani today? He is coming over.
Sure, I think like all of us are. Sure. I've talked to Mike. I've talked to Charlie Nagy. This spring. I've talked to Billy Epler. We've crossed paths, and these guys are excited about Ohtani and what he can bring to their organization. And again, I think he's good for our game in general, right? When you have these type of talents and these types of players are exciting times for Major League Baseball. And I think all of us in the game, are excited to see him play. Years ago when Ichiro came over, right, and Hideki Matsui came over, and Nomo, and a lot of the guys from the Far East are as talented players. So it's good stuff.
As a manager, how would you perceive Ohtani in your lineup?
Oh, I mean, I'd have to know the player first. I think that, there's a lot of moving parts with this fella based on, his pitching schedule and how they're going to handle this, probably more physically than anything, right? The biggest challenge is the physical component for him and how the Angels will handle that. But they'll get a handle on that this spring. They're very capable baseball men over there who will handle this.
He talked with Ottavino, he talks about how his strikeouts to innings, his hits to innings ratios were good last
Great.
year.
Yeah.
It was mechanical and became a little mental. Do you see him being able to?
Yeah, I do, Trace. I think that, I look at, a couple things. You look at the last, the internal numbers in the last part of 2016, the innings pitched, the walk to strikeout ratio of 16. You look at, some of the years where he really pitched well, there's some great ratios as far as walks to innings pitched. I think the strikeouts will be there. I think the strikeouts are in this fella's game, with velocity and the ability to spin the ball, manipulate the break and pitch. His challenge now is, I think for me, twofold. He's made some delivery changes. There's some mechanics that he worked on this winter, primarily a little bit of arm slot and mostly stride direction that will enable him to, I think, consistently make pitches. I think those are, the two big things. And secondly, I think when you have an up and down season, your confidence, naturally is gonna leave you at times. And I think, getting back on track with the fundamentals of throwing a baseball with him, his delivery, I think will get him in the strike zone more consistently. Therefore, his stuff plays. Therefore, he'll have success. And then here comes the confidence. But, right now the early signs are that he's in a good spot.
He seemed to do a pretty good job of self-evaluation.
I think he did. He's a sharp guy. He's, he has experience. He knows what needs to happen. And I think that, self-admittedly, it got away from him last year a little bit, especially, the aggressive nature that I think Otto has. Probably wasn't in a good spot for him, last year, and he said that. So now I think he's on the attack. I mean, that's what I sense, and that's a great mindset to have for a pitcher. He's on the attack, man.
Be a huge lift for you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, quality performance by a number of guys in the pen that we hope can happen is, so huge. It'll be huge for us. His bounce back.
Buddy, have you seen very many guys who, when they shifted from starter to closer, maintained this full pitch mix the way Wade Davis has? He's throwing basically the same stuff that he threw, and maybe even sharper. But a lot of guys seem to get rid of pitches.
John Smoltz comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dennis Eckersley, maybe not to the extent that he had as a starter, but it was fastball, slider, a little bit of a slower breaking ball for Eck. But Smoltz is a guy that stands out for me. I'm trying to think of others off the top of my head.
Fingers.
I think Adam Wainwright was a starter,
Right.
turned reliever, came back to starting, but I think he used his whole repertoire. Was Raleigh a starter?
Yeah, he was a starter. Really.
Was he early on? Yeah, I think he started in 1968. Remember that season in Double-A?
He was.
Latchcott.
Latchcott Raleigh?
I was fine.
Yeah,
I was fine.
I didn't know that.
Latch was the bonus pick.
Yeah. Suter, I think he was reliever all the way. We have to do a little homework, but
Okay.
those two guys come to mind. Yeah.
But to see a guy do that and also keep the quality of his.
Terry Forster, he kept his. Yeah.
Big Terry Fish.
Remember, he was starter
That's right.
and then turned reliever, but I think he used his full complement of stuff. Yeah.
And to see the way Davis has, he can still kind of, throw that fastball, hard slider,
Yeah.
come with a curve,
Yeah.
a really good curve.
He pitches, which is great. I think you do find that most closers do pitch. Even though, and by that I mean, hey, their intent is to hit spots. Their intent is to pitch to a scouting report. Even as one-dimensional as Mariano Rivera was, I still had the impression he pitched. Might be, where, the ability to locate the ball. That's pitching to me, even though it's one pitch. Because he could throw the cutter for a called strike. He could throw it on the inside cutter, on the inside corner. He could move it in off the plate. He could backdoor it. He could, so he pitched, even though he had one pitch. Trevor pitched with, fastball change primarily, but, he pitched off those two pitches. So I think the good ones pitch. Very rarely, if you're just a thrower, you don't pass the test of time.
Anything else?
Okay.
One thing, if you need a righty to go, say, more than 3 outs, just looking at your projected pen right now without a starter going, who would you go to?
You might see Scott Oberg, Carlos Estevez when he gets back on the horse, potentially, getting stretched out to 40 pitches or so.
Okay. Down here.
Yeah, and don't discount the starting pitcher group that in the event that one of those guys don't make the rotation. We still could see one of those guys in the bullpen like we did last year, right? When we started the season with Herman Marquez in the bullpen, even though he didn't pitch the first 9 games of the season.
That's in a way a good thing because you pitch pretty well.
That's right.
Is Estevez close or what's his
He's feeling better, but he's not quite there yet.
He told me yesterday 5 to 7 days.
Yeah. When you hear me say he's closer than you think,
I think we learned that lesson last.
Yes.
all right, guys.
Thanks, Blake.